Hola, audiencia. Why hoy Cinema Club Extraordinario. Hey, everybody. I am Jason Echoes. I am joined by your fellow hosts, Don Dino Spezzini, Steve Dev, and JP Ceruno. Today, we will be reviewing the 2012 vampire film for spooky October month, Byzantium, starring saoirse, Ronan, and Gemma Arterton. That's pretty good. Arterton. I was happy to pick this movie. I'd never seen it before. I tried to watch it like last October, and I was really sleepy, and I fell asleep like in the first 15 seconds of the film. I love saoirse. I actually saw the movie with Dino, and I don't think she can do any wrong. Like, I think she is like the perfect actress. She might be, dare I say, she might be the best actor of her generation already. I don't think there's anybody close. And Gemma was fantastic in this movie too. It was a vampire flick, and I love vampire movies. Now, a little side note to this movie, going into it, this movie was made around the same time as Twilight. And they're both about teenage vampires, essentially, but this is the far superior movie because it's really an adult film. Not an adult film, but it's a movie geared toward adult people opposed to, preteens and teenagers.
One nipple, just in case you...
There's a nip in the movie for sure.
Did catch it.
So let's jump right into it, and let's talk about first impressions of this movie and what you guys thought going into it and, how you felt about it. We can start open discussion. You guys, whoever talks first gets to go first.
I guess I'll go since I'm already on the screen, and I feel that would be awkward. Like, I don't want to talk.
Just in the corner, quiet.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it. Even when we started the movie, I think you had already mentioned that it was a vampire flick. But when we started the movie, I had already forgotten that it was vampire. So once it was like, oh, they're vampires. So clearly it was well done. I enjoyed it. I was very pleasantly surprised of how well it was acted. I was getting a little bit of the vibe of Interview with the Vampire. And sure enough, just found out that Neil Jordan directed this movie, and he was also part of Interview with the Vampire. Yeah, I just really liked it. Again, saoirse, is that her?
Saoirse.
Saoirse.
Let's just get this straight right from, I was watching an interview. Her name is pronounced saoirse, and you have to say it with a Scottish accent because she said that's how her mom named her, so it has to be said with the accent. Saoirse.
But it's spelled Saoirse. That is gonna create confusion in me for all of eternity.
Saoirse.
Exactly. I'll just point at you every time.
I love saying it.
Every time I'm gonna say. So one thing I really liked about
saoirse
was that she just seemed really genuine, and she seemed, very. Yeah, she's great in pretty much all the roles that I've seen her in, and this one the same. She was. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I like this film. I also found out that it's based on a play, so I was already watching it kind of in that mentality of
What's the name of the play?
It's the same. I think it's the same. Sorry, actually the play is A Vampire Story. So I was trying to figure out, which was fun for me, at least coming from a theater background and all that. I'm like, I wonder what was written in the play, how many characters you would have, what was added for the film. Clearly the waterfall was not in the play, I don't imagine. But so first impression, I really liked it. I thought, it was, it kept me interested the whole way through.
Sure.
So I'll go real quick. I enjoyed it a lot. I especially loved that character. What's the name of that character?
Which one?
You mean the actress?
Eleanor.
Yeah, no, the sword thing.
Saoirse.
Sorsha like Porsche.
Her character's name
Yeah.
was Phil.
Eleanor.
Eleanor
and
Red.
and I found out that this was based on a play, which I really enjoyed. All right, guys, I gotta come clean. I haven't seen the actual movie.
I was gonna say you're just.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. But I promise this is gonna be the last week that I'm watching the movies way too late. It's just I've been getting the internet and all that set up. So now that we're in business, You know what I'm saying? So that's
cut to
cut to
Desmond's,
JP.
review 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. All right, JP. It all falls.
Oh gosh. It was funny because before I watched the movie, I kept on riffing with because I watched it with my partner and my roommate, and it was basically like a movie night. We saw the film with pizza, food, whatever. And before we watched the film, I was riffing about Lady Bird because the last movie I saw was Saoirse Ronan was in it. It was Lady Bird, and I actually really fucking hated Lady Bird. Like it's one of my least favorite movies. There was no real fault when it comes to the performance, but there was no.
You feel strongly about Lady
Yeah, no, I was. For me, there was no redeeming qualities in that film, so it was a waste of my time. So, like, to be quite honest, I was expecting to chill out. It's gonna be fine. And she was the strongest person in the film. I think her character was actually probably the strongest element of the film. I did not like this movie. The entire time I kept on riffing again with my roommate and my partner, and they both loved the film. They admired this movie, but I could not help.
Maybe we can have them talk, or else it's going to be a real
Right?
review.
But like for me, I felt like most of the acting was it was borderline hokey at times. I thought it was over the top. There was lots of moments in the screenwriting where I thought like it could have used another look at. I don't know. There was a lot of things I would have liked from this film, but there was a lot of things that weren't explained, and it wasn't with the intention of mystery. It was just, well, we don't have time to explain it. It's whatever. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was actually kind of disappointed and bored by it. I didn't really enjoy it. There was a few things that maybe I thought like was kind of cool or kind of was like redeemable, but to be quite honest, the only fun I had with this movie was just riffing it the entire time while I was watching with my partner and my girlfriend. So they assumed that I liked it because I tend to kind of take a shit on things I like. But this was the first film that we've reviewed so far, which I was bored and I couldn't help but think, man, this is probably the weakest thing that we've seen thus far, in my opinion. So yeah, sorry guys, I did not like this movie.
Is that why you don't have a background on the movie poster?
Oh no, I don't have time.
You had it for all the other ones.
This is how I felt. Blue.
That you just like the most. So
Yeah.
Even in the kitchen, you had a background.
Okay.
All right, let me ask you this, JP. I'm just gonna. Do you enjoy vampire movies? Do you have a favorite?
Oh man.
Movie?
To be quite honest, I can't really say. I've never seen a vampire flick. I'm not into. Wait, no, that's a lie. I have seen a few of Bela Lugosi films, and I have seen Nosferatu. So I've seen like the old vampire films, but I haven't seen much of the current ones. The most recent one I can think about is probably the first Twilight, and I don't even remember that movie that well. You know, like it's just a memory in the back.
You should watch Buffy.
What was the last one you said? The LAPD helicopter was just flying by and we missed.
Oh shit!
What was the most recent one you said you thought you saw?
Maybe Twilight, and that was back in college. And again, I can't have an actual opinion on that film because I actually don't remember it that well. But if I don't remember it that well, it probably did not leave an impression on me.
So this is interesting to me because you said that you there were some questions that you had about the movie. I wonder, and we can get to this later, but I wonder if there were questions that were like vampire related that maybe you didn't quite grasp onto because you're not, too familiar with vampire lore because you haven't seen that many movies.
Oh no, like some of the stuff, like for sure the lore is like kind of like I can't put a finger or a name to like vampire films or stories I've seen because it's not my biggest like strong suit or fandom.
The Lost Boys. You ever watch?
Oh, I actually have seen The Lost Boys, yes, and that one was a fun one. Yeah, like the whole vampires can't come in unless you give them permission to, stuff like that. Like the cliche ones, the garlic, silver bullets are for werewolves, right?
The
silver bullets are for steak, the wooden stake, the crucifix, holy water, the sun, stuff like that. So I feel like I know enough about lore, but it's just like, it's one of those things where it just does not interest me. So I'm sure a part of the bias I have is the fact that I'm not into that sort of genre of film and storytelling. So yeah, I just was not, it just didn't grab onto me, not at all.
Were you into the pizza at least?
Oh man, it was not, they didn't get stuffed crust, so no.
No. What a terrible night for you, JP. I'm really sorry about that.
That's all good.
Let's just fully go in things you hate. What was the pizza?
It was
sardine.
It was sausage and olives, I think. It was basically whatever my roommate and my girlfriend wanted.
From where? Domino's, Pizza Hut?
Oh, it was Pizza Hut.
Very
I like how we just derailed this conversation now.
Next time they do have pan pizza, so just get your own pan.
Right? Get a calzone or a pizzone.
Send us some money, Pizza Hut.
So I really enjoyed the movie. I don't know where I rank it in vampire films, but it's really high up there. This is one of my favorite all-time vampire flicks, and I love the vampire genre. I don't really know how this movie actually got by me. I mean, I guess saoirse wasn't
how
big.
It got Byzantium.
That's another thing I didn't like. Was
I think you tried over there. I don't really know how it got past me because I thought it was a really good film. I mean, it's almost a little like Euro, I don't even know where the movie was shot. It felt like it was some type of UK European movie. I'm not really sure. But I really dug it, and I really dug all the performances.
Were they at least social distancing? Because like the Europe is right now really bad.
No, it was 8 years ago, and it was a movie, so no.
And vampires don't really social distance.
Yeah, they don't really need to because they're immortal. So that's the thing. But anyways, I dug it. I liked how the movie was very quiet. It was kind of a quiet performance, and you can do that with an actor like saoirse because like she kind of like Emma Watson sort of speaks with her eyes a lot. You kind of always know what she's thinking, and I feel like almost she could just like look into a camera, or the lens will just look into her eyes, and whatever you think she might be thinking, it's just there because her eyes just tell the story automatically. It's pretty bizarre.
And eyes are the windows to our souls.
Yeah. What did you guys? Was there a character that you guys liked the most or identified with in the film?
Oh man, it would. I did actually like saoirse's character Eleanor Webb. Goodness gracious. But that's not really saying much either because I was not a fan of Clara, who ended up like kind of like in a twist sort of way when you find out through the narrative of the cutting between the past to the present that Clara is her mom. So I mean, she's probably like a close second, but that's probably because she also has like the second amount of most amount of screen time in the film, and I don't know. She was I say it would have to be Emma. Like I really did like no, not Emma. Eleanor's character. Also, what's the kid? Frank. That guy was a fucking creep, by the way. In the movie, like they didn't have to give him a fucking deadly disease. I was like, you're already fucking creepy, and I couldn't. Spoiler alert. I kept on. That was part of my risk. I was like, this motherfucker looks like a vampire. If he doesn't become one by the
vampire.
Right, if he doesn't become one in the end, I'm gonna be greatly disappointed. So, but gosh,
the vampire for no reason.
Right? Oh my god, the way they dressed him up, I was like, even like, because he's in the present day. A lot of his clothing already looked like it was from the past, and I couldn't tell, like, is that intentional? Because if it was, I actually am not digging it.
Well, I guess they were in some sort of liberal arts college, right? I'm still trying to figure out, were they in a screenplay class? Were they just in a literature class? Were they in an acting monologue class? Like,
it was a creative writing class.
Oh, creative writing. I must have missed that. So
he wears all the costumes that he has to perform with just on the daily basis.
You know how it is around artistic folk. Yeah, I mean, she was the best of the movie, just top notch, I felt, and the most interesting, right?
Yeah,
that was constantly had the struggle, right? There's a helicopter going on. If it gets too close, we'll mute. Going back on the film and like liking it, I like their more and more now their fresh takes on genres, right? You have What We Do in the Shadows, that of course is more on the comedy side. This one, I liked how they kept some of the structure of what a vampire can and can't do, but also decided to we'll use what we have to. For instance, they can be in the sun and not sparkly, not be all diamondly like for no reason whatsoever. Like, I really enjoy that they decided to let's focus on this story, which was kind of like the struggle. What do you do, right? Who do you tell? Who do you trust, kind of thing? Because then I think I might have asked you kind of like, would you tell someone, or would you just go around killing people, or would you take people out of their miseries? Which murder is worse? Is what I guess I got asked Jason yesterday.
So that leads me to actually who I like the most, and I like a lot of the characters, but I really identified with Saoirse's character Eleanor, because her main purpose, like her purpose in life, it seemed to was to take people out of their misery. The two old people who were like near death, and the one guy who was like, I'm old, I've experienced it, I have a ton of regrets in life, I'm ready for it to be over. And she's like, all right, I'll help you out. And then the one lady who's suffering in the hospital, I'll help you out. Yeah. And then the kid who's, suffering from cancer, he has leukemia, she basically turns him into a vampire to save his life, essentially, right? Which I like, pretty cool. The same for Dark Vale, the guy who saved her sister's life back in I guess the 1800s or whatever. Dark Vale saved the sister, to get her out of her bad situation. And essentially, he did it again. He saved them all over again at the end of the movie. It kind of came full circle in that way.
Actually, he didn't save them, remember?
Yeah, he did.
No, not early. At the beginning, the only thing he did was gave her a purse. But other than that, the other douchebag took over.
Well, didn't he turn her into a vampire?
No.
She found her own way.
Yeah, she stole the map.
Oh, she stole the map. Good point.
Right. That's why she wasn't supposed to have been allowed, right?
Well, he redeemed himself.
Yes.
He had a redemption arc by saving her finally.
Yes.
Correct. That's actually better now that I'm fully.
Because also when he took her to the library, it looks like a library. I don't know, the cult or the group. He did try to kind of defend her a little bit, because they were like, oh, we don't allow women, blah blah blah. And then she was, he was like, yeah, but she's kind of this and that, and then basically had a chance to stick up for her one last time.
Yeah, and she even kind of begged for it too. She was like, aren't you gonna speak on my behalf? And he was like, he could tell, it's like he's in a predicament where he can't.
He's like, I don't know you.
So no, that was a very nice, kind of finish of just like these kind of groups. But about the lines, again, I see it as being some of the lines would be better for stage. You know, I kept saying like, oh, this would be a long monologue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is a soliloquy here. This is a that. So I thought that was fine. Vampire movies all have some sort of cheesiness to them. You know, it's freaking vampires. Show me a non-cheesy vampire film.
I guess the aspect of it that it's automatically supernatural, and it's a horror film, so it's a supernatural horror film. You know, just by nature, I guess that can lend itself to some natural cheesiness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see it as a horror movie though.
For all the waterfalls of blood and heads getting chopped off, and
Yeah.
the vampire stalking people. It just didn't.
Yeah.
Her sucking on the handkerchief
pimp.
to me was more gory than like the blood waterfall and stuff.
Oh, the Frank's handkerchief
yeah,
used on Frank's wound. Oh yeah, that was.
What about the
That was
pulse
gross.
punctures with the long fingernail? That wasn't very horror for you.
It didn't come out as like I can tell that's fake, but the rag, it's like we don't know where it actually was.
Hmm.
But I know you aren't gonna stab a human person, but knows to say that Saoirse has like dipped that rag in actual blood.
Hmm.
She's like the Daniel Day-Lewis of actresses.
She's up there. We'll see where it leads her. It's kind of, I think it's a little presumptuous to say the same day.
I was gonna say that's a big claim.
She was sucking on real blood. That was my hope.
Oh God, I hope not. Oh my God.
I wasn't actually making that comparison.
You know, I was actually thinking throughout the movie with vampires, because there's so much sickness in the movie, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking like, when vampires drink this blood, like, does certain blood have different qualities to it? Like if she's drinking like a cancer patient's blood or a person on their deathbed's blood, is that like as good as drinking like, you know, a young, fresh virgin's blood? Like, is it like wine levels to this? Like, do older people have better blood because it's age? Like, how does it work? Like in the vampire world?
Within the film, because it's more morally based, perhaps. Like, and they don't really explore it, but I did actually like how Eleanor chooses to live life by putting people out of their misery, because I think she's basically the only one who did not choose this life. Because I'm almost certain that her mom, when he took her to the cave, she didn't tell her what was going to happen when she went to that cave. So she did not choose this life. She had, you know, no intentions of living life that way. So I'm guessing like maybe because she lives such a, one would say more pure life, that the powers and maybe, I guess what you would call the evil of being a vampire did not really succumb to her. Because as soon as Clara, right? Is that the mom's name? Clara, like, as soon as, because she wanted that power. And as soon as she got it, she did not want to let go of it. And it was kind of the same way even when they're on the run. You could tell that she actually rebels very much in taking out who she believes does not deserve life or who is bad, even though she breaks that rule once during this film.
Yeah, that's a pretty good observation, JP, which leads me to my next question. If you all, and Steve, you can participate in this one too, even though you haven't seen the movie. If you were a vampire, what kind of vampire would you be?
I'll go first.
Would you be the kind of vampire that didn't kill people and maybe snuck around to try to find the blood at blood banks? Or would you stalk people at night? You know, would you enjoy living for 200 years? Like, what kind of...
I'll be the consensual vampire. I'll just walk around.
You brought that up. Saoirse brought up, like, I only kill with consent. So...
Yeah. I would be like, I would literally be like, hey, pretty lady, do you want to live forever?
What if you didn't? So in this particular movie, which was different than any vampire movie I ever saw.
I'll answer that question. I gotta go real quick.
Okay.
The vampires couldn't turn people into vampires. They had to take them to a special location and let them like sit in the location, and that would turn them into a vampire.
Yeah.
So if you had 200 years on the planet as a vampire, how would you spend that 200 years? Like, what country would you be in? How many countries would you live in? Like, what would you do?
Bro, I would go to every single country. Well, 200 years?
Yeah, she was the lead character was 200 years old.
And you never age, right?
Right. So she was like 16 when she became a vampire. So she's gonna be 16 forever.
So yeah, I would basically go everywhere to the point that I just go like, all right, I've seen everything I can see in this world, whatever. Like I will hop on a spaceship with Elon and go to Mars after I'm bored from here. And
I
just go
wonder
check
if
it out.
vampires
After sucking some motherfucker, right?
After wait, sucking what motherfucker?
Well,
not
if you're a
sucking.
vampire.
Wait, does like sucking on people is like the way they eat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta take their blood, bro.
How many doses per day?
Depends on the movie.
I asked that to myself when I was watching the movie, and I asked that almost every vampire movie. I feel like, what's the feeding like?
Yeah.
It seems like vampires can live forever without feeding, but they get weaker and weaker the more
they
they
suffer.
don't feed. Like a vampire could live 1,000 years without eating; they would just be like deathly weak.
Yeah.
But they get stronger the more they consume.
Yeah, I'll probably be the weakest vampire then.
So you just have to get in the coffin and just lay there and just rest, like in Bram Stoker's Dracula. Just chill out for 1,000 years in your castle.
Right.
I would just be intermittent fasting for 199 years.
But don't ever get a taste of that blood, because I hear once you get
No,
it,
and the last year I'm gonna go balls to the wall. You know what I'm
just
saying?
go ham.
Like, just that last year, it's like this is my retirement. So I have to become as strong as possible. So I leave. I came weak, but I left strong. You know what I'm saying?
Just go for it. How about you, man? What kind of vampire would you be?
But I'm not sure. But that was one of the. I would like to say that I'd be more like saoirse, in that kind of do the pity kills.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows, man? Once you start, right? You might go
It's like crack, I'm sure.
Yeah, you might go on a few benders there. But Clara wasn't that bad either, because she would take out people that would prey on the weak, right? Yeah. That was like, so
except for the teacher.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
You're right. She also preyed on people who she thought could hurt her.
Them. Yeah, could hurt them.
Could hurt their vampire tribe.
But one of the scenes, and not to like get ahead of myself or whatever, that I liked was Saoirse talking to the counselor or whoever that woman was.
That was great.
And like, well, how can you prove it? Can you prove it without like drinking blood or whatever? And she's like, well, it would have to take like 40 years.
Yeah, that was a really cool monologue.
And that was probably, I think, one of the most powerful ones, because then it clicked, like, some of those old people that she took out seems like they recognized her, because she had already even been like, when they first got to that little town, we've been here before, right? And and so to me, they always say like, oh, you're an angel or stuff like that. To me, it seemed like since they would travel around a lot and they probably went from place to place and back again, that she would interact with the same people she had already, interacted with.
Even the old man in the beginning who ended up reading her notes.
Yeah.
He ended up putting two and two together. It's like, oh, you are the same person that's been writing these stories for many years now. You are the boogeyman that the people were talking about, but you're not a boogeyman. And he allows himself to give to her,
one thing that I wish they would explored a little bit more in the movie, and I'm going to get to you in a second, but the one thing that I wish that they explored a little bit, because one of her powers was memory. Like, she had like this crazy videography memory where she could just remember things as though she was there. And she would sort of see herself there, like she would kind of like teleport in time travel even. And one thing that's important in the vampire lore, which I do enjoy, that they don't actually break down the rules of being a vampire, they just do them. I like how her power was the memory thing. What I don't like is it didn't really explore the other people's powers. I think if anything, maybe Clara had the power to persuade people. She was like wildly persuasive, can get anybody to do anything. Um, but that could have also been her training as a professional sex worker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I if I were a vampire, I think I would be a little bit of all those things. If I'm being completely honest, I think I would be the kind that would help people, but I think I would stalk people too. I wouldn't do it all the time, but sometimes I'd be like, yeah, man, I'm gonna go out into the night like Batman. I'm gonna hide in shadows, and I would probably not take nice people, good people, but if there's like a bad guy like beating his girlfriend up on the street or something, I probably would stalk him and eat him. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would probably definitely do that to people for sure.
You'd be a vampire, man.
A literal Batman. I'm Batman.
Batman. I might go to Etsy and get myself a Batman costume and just straight up be Batman. And that would be awesome. And
I'm Bat.
I would invest my money so like after 100 or 200 years, I'd be a billionaire. And I'd just straight up be Batman. Like, why not? I can do all what Batman does. Don't have to train. I'll probably know the kung fu.
And you definitely have all the time to become a billionaire too.
I mean, you can do that in Hollywood Boulevard.
You also have all the time to train and figure all that out. Kind of like her playing the piano, right? It's like you could.
And actually, if you do it in Hollywood Boulevard, you will be doing a service because you will be fighting actual crime.
I will be fighting real life villains. So.
Oh my gosh.
I will be a really good vampire.
You might find the Joker and the Penguin.
You know what happens when a hero emerges? There's always a villain that comes to meet that hero where they're at. So
yin and yang, it's a balance.
It's a balance.
I think JP would be the villain because he doesn't like any of the vampires.
He doesn't like vampires. So he's like, oh, I hate vampires, and Jason's one. I'm gonna put a stake through his head.
Damn those vampires.
I think someone would have turned JP into a vampire and he would just be really resentful.
I was gonna say, go ahead, sorry.
He couldn't even taste pizza anymore, so he was like, I'm gonna mess everyone who's a vampire up.
You know, it's funny though, because like my answer to the question, what would I do if I was a vampire? Have you guys ever seen Let the Right One In?
Oh, we were just talking about that. That is my favorite vampire movie of all time.
Yeah. You remember in the scene where one of the villagers, like, she ends up being bit, and you get to see her progression within the film about 3 days in, and she's just in her hospital bed, and she realizes what has she's become, and she asks the doctor to open the blinds, and she catches on fire. Yeah. I would be that vampire.
Just take yourself out right away.
Yeah, it's like, fuck, because I have such a crazy like moral guideline of life, and I have the worst Catholic guilt. So I honestly,
even but not if this vampire wouldn't catch.
Yeah, but like even like the whole consensual death, like just taking another life and just like knowing like, oh my God, this is my life now. I don't think I'd be ever cool with that. So yeah, I'd probably just find a way to just off it and be done with it.
It's quite a drawback. You know, speaking of that, it actually kind of makes me admire Saoirse's performance a little bit more because she certainly was very melancholy. She didn't find a whole lot of joy out of life because, like you said, she didn't ask for it. She didn't really want that for her life, but here she is. She has to survive, and she's just doing the best she can with what she has, you know? And that's kind of sad. And being a vampire has its drawbacks for sure. For sure. I mean, you're watching everybody around you grow old and pass away, and you're just like over and over and over again. It just keeps happening, you know, and it'll never stop. So that's quite the drawback. I did have another question, but I forgot it. Any other thoughts about the movie? Or here, this was what it was. Because they don't explain the vampire lore, and I guess when you make a vampire movie, you sort of make up your own rules as you go,
like time travel,
and all that kind of stuff. It was sort of a time travel. The thing that kind of was a little weird for me was that they were out during the daylight. Now, I know like a lot of movies now, vampires, they're in the day now. And I guess it makes vampires a little bit more interesting if they can sort of be out in the day. Twilight, they were very much able to
but
be out in the day.
they were all sparkly.
Yeah, that was part of the lore of their universe. They would get sparkly, right? But he's still out in the day. He just sort of glimmered. Blade was a day walker. There's just more day walker vampires now.
Yeah, but he was half.
My second favorite vampire movie.
Regular vampires in Blade weren't out during the day.
Have you guys seen Last Two Lovers Left Alive or Only Lovers Left Alive?
I don't think so.
It's starring Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton. It was directed by Jim Jarmusch. Super dope.
Jim Jarmusch?
Yeah. Super dope. Highly recommend it. It takes place in Detroit and Morocco. And right up my alley. Highly recommend it. It's October. If you guys want to see a dope vampire flick, that's to me right up there with Let the Right One In. I know you hate vampire flicks and you won't watch it. But yeah. What about
Let the Right One In?
What's you guys' favorite vampire movie of all time?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Can you can answer that too, Steve, if you ever seen it.
I don't have one, but if I have to pick, it will be Buffy the Vampire Slayer series.
Not the movie, the series.
The series, yes.
Oh my God, the movie was great. As
If
a
I was
little kid,
I was about to give you a lot of cool points if you said the movie. That movie was pretty dope.
now you're a poser for
For the series?
Yeah.
I used to follow the series.
The series is cool. I never really watched it, but Sarah Michelle Gellar was dope.
Yeah, so the movie too, I guess.
I don't know. There are a few different ones. Definitely, because I mean, What We Do in the Shadows is great. The movie. I haven't seen the TV show, but I've heard good things. I even like Dracula Dead and Loving.
Oh yeah.
It
the Mel Brooks one?
Yeah, it's not like a top 3 Mel Brooks movie, but good God, there's some really funny lines and bits in it, and it has Leslie Nielsen in it also. But growing up, it was definitely Buffy. The Lost Boys was one.
Lost Boys is a big one in our generation. People love it.
I mean, yeah, when you have the frog boys or the frogmen, whatever, the Froggers, the two brothers that knew all the stuff about the vampires was just the coolest, I thought. But yeah, never really that into vampire movies.
JP, your favorite vampire flick?
Hotel Transylvania.
Hotel.
No, I'm just joshing. Like I said, I'm not too.
You hate vampires. You gotta pick one.
Like I can't really.
Which one makes you want to not put yourself on fire the most?
Sure.
Dracula 2000.
Which one makes you not open the curtain to sunlight the most?
I mean, I really did like Let the Right One In, the original, not the American remake.
The American remake.
I've never seen the American remake. I mean, I've seen bits of it, but I never saw the whole movie in its entirety. But I did like the original one. I honestly can't really think of it because, like, I'm still drawing a blank, and it's not intentional. It's just like I said, it's not my strongest suit of knowledge of film.
Yeah.
So, like, I think because I Let the Right One In, like, I never saw it as a vampire movie, and that's probably why I actually remember that one the most because I didn't immediately thought, oh, vampire movie. I was like, oh, it's just a story about a kid like discovering this supernatural girl and how the supernatural girl, through good intentions or not, ends up kind of saving this kid, and you kind of are left at the end of the movie. It's like, did the kid make the right choice going with this girl? I totally just hijacked the review with that movie.
That's fine.
But I think that has to be the one because like nothing else is literally coming to mind, and some of the films that I do at least know of, I know for a fact that I haven't really seen its entirety or seen it multiple times. I can at least say that I've seen Let the Right One In maybe 4 to 3 times.
I think that would be a pretty favorite vampire movie, just on general principle. I mean, to me, I think it's the best one. So,
Eddie Murphy's.
Vampire in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
There's a few comedic vampire movies.
Yeah.
There's quite a few of those. I mean, the vampire genre, there's a lot of stuff there, man. There's a lot of stuff to explore.
Another
I think
reason
they're
why.
making a remake of that.
Which one?
Vampire in Brooklyn, or they're making a soft reboot or a remake of that because there's now going to be
coming out with Coming to America too.
Oh no, it's a series. I think it's going to be either on Hulu or
I could deal
Netflix.
with more black vampires.
Yeah,
I could deal with it.
I will say, I mean, the Blade movies, at least the first two, are also pretty good. And I mean, that's its own, it's a different type of genre. Just going back to this one, why I was very pleasantly surprised, especially knowing that it came around the same time as Twilight and, was it True Blood? Is that what that series was called?
Oh, from Showtime?
Yeah, or HBO.
Oh, HBO.
But I mean, around within 5 or 10 years, right? All the vampire stuff started kind of following those kind of things, like very teen, poppy, exo-central and sexual. So I like that this, from that period, seemed to stand on its own. Yeah. And just and not fall into the trap of clearly the play came out in 2008. So
True Blood was around that time. I think it was wrapping up around that time. So yeah.
Yeah. So the play seemed to have been published in 2008, or put in on stage or whatever. So I feel it was it must have gotten good reviews, and people are like, "Oh, Twilight was bought, and they're making this movie, blah blah blah. Here's another vampire movie. Let's
you're right.
try to push it through." And then it didn't seem to get a huge push, and I don't know if because it came and it was more artsy, than
I think this
just,
movie will be bigger now, considering Saoirse's star power has risen since the movie.
Yeah.
People can now pronounce her name better.
I don't know if anyone can.
They probably would do better special effects too. That was another thing I didn't like.
What? There's no special effects. What special
The very little amount of special effects in this movie was kind of
the
lacking.
head cut off. How was that for you?
For what?
The head being chopped off.
There was a hand that was chopped off?
Head.
Oh, Frank's hand. Oh, the head.
Yeah, there were a few decapitations.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there was two. There was two for sure, certain. I thought that was kind of weird. I mean, the process of the head getting cut off was pretty damn good until the head rolled over. The same with the second decapitation. As soon as you see the head flop off, is you can kind of tell it's a dummy head. Of course, it's a dummy head, but for some reason, I couldn't help but think that looks wonky. I think for me, the special effect that bothered me the most were the bats in the cave. The bats in the cave looked very fake, and also the transformation of the water turning red into blood. Well, I know it wasn't blood red, but it looked so fake that one of my riffs for that scene was as soon as the water started turning red, I was like, oh yeah.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah. The first time, yeah, but I thought it was cool. Yeah. The first time the water turned red, it definitely was a little lighter. Then when they brought it back, I was like, okay, I think they got their color in correct with that one.
But it still looked kind of faded. It almost, this is going to sound weird, but I know it's color correction. You could tell that's what it was. But it literally almost looks like someone highlighted the film to make it look red to me.
I was fine with that. You're saying about the CGI of the bat. I tell you what, I tried watching Batwoman. I only got through the first episode, and the bats flying around them much better than the bats flying around Batwoman. And that just came out last year. So
I couldn't tell that the bats were fake, to be honest with you. I couldn't tell. We watched it in a pretty good resolution. I really couldn't tell, honestly.
Same here, and I could definitely tell. Part of me was wondering, okay, this has to be the TV's fault why it looks so bad to me. But I checked it again up on a YouTube clip. It's oh no, that's exactly how it's supposed to look like. Okay. That's just me.
It's 2012. It's a vampire film. And I don't know what you want people to do with decapitation. You want people to wear a green onesie, and so they can just head going down the stairs so that JT can say like, wow, that was an actual head rolling down the stairs.
He wants like in Babel, like the decapitation of the chicken. You know?
Oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, where do you?
That one was really good though. I thought that was real.
No, but in seven boxes, there's that. What is it? The cow's head. I'm pretty sure that was real. That's just laying on the table in the butcher. I'm pretty sure that's been laying there. It might still be there, actually.
I'm pretty sure that entire movie is real.
Yeah.
It felt real.
It was pretty good, real.
So one more thing I want to touch on was the cinematography. There's a few shots in the movie that I noticed that I thought were just beautiful, and they were painting-esque. There was one where she's sitting seaside, and there's like a boat to the right of her, and she's like looking out into the ocean or whatever, and she turns around, and with her red hair and the blue eyes and the ocean and the sand color, and then like the color of the boat with like the red top, it just looked like a painting. It was perfectly like triangular, and it looked like a piece of fine art that I've studied in art class. You know, they might even ripped it from something. And then there's another shot where they're walking down the street, like that nondescript city street, and they first get to the Byzantium, and it kind of like, oh, okay, this movie Byzantium is the hotel name. That shot I thought was brilliant too. And I mean, you know, Saoirse just photographs really well with that super bright red hair.
And those eyes.
And those eyes.
And the eyes were so popping.
The blade is also Byzantium.
What was that?
The blade at the end, the sword, it's Byzantium.
Yeah.
Oh, from like the time period.
He said, I brought this back from Byzantium.
Oh, wow.
I still think that title was dumb. It was the play's title is Vampire Story, right?
Yeah.
That title makes more sense than this title. Sorry, I'm just being an asshole.
It might have been too close. It might have been too close to Interview with a Vampire. That maybe they were like, you know.
I feel like there's already a movie called Vampire Story or something.
Speaking of the shot, well, yeah, they made her as she's having kind of the flashbacks or the in between, and it's herself in the orphanage, you know, who has kind of the very much what's that TV show? Handmaid Tale.
Oh yeah.
With she in present time has kind of that little hoodie that's also red, and that's why it's like she's kept that aesthetic.
Yeah. Right.
That very proper and very much, trying to almost. She disappears into the environment in this movie very much so.
Totally.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other hot takes on the film before we wrap it up?
Well, my favorite shot actually, it was weird because like one of the things I felt was also lacklustering was the location. Like I thought there was not enough shots of the location or the city by the beach. Like I felt like there was not, for me, there was not enough wide shots or enough shots to like see what this place was. So I did not know which part of the town we were in if there was no beach. The one shot that I thought was actually most interesting was the shot that probably had the least amount of things in it, and that was the promenade, because Eleanor's character is there, I think 3 times when she sees Frank again after the restaurant, and when she sees the coked out girl who Claire ends up taking to the brothel that she runs. Like, it's such a dingy, long corridor, and it's always shot during the dark. So, the promenade, it's made to, like, see the beach, but in a more comfortable view. Almost like you're literally on a cruise ship. That's what it looks like. And that's what the view is supposed to be. So to see nothing but the pitch dark and the fluorescent lighting, that ugly fluorescent lighting, looking at the stone, making it just pop out white and gray. And if there's any stains or anything left there, any rubbish, you could see it. For some reason, the most ugly, right? It's so scary. Like that was moments where I felt the most suspenseful. Was like I don't know what's gonna go on. Like, are the Brotherhood gonna pop out of nowhere in this promenade? Like, arguably the most ugliest shot, like color wise and just visually, was the ones that I was the most interested in the film. Actually, was that dingy, dark promenade.
Right on. Anything from you, Dean?
No, the neon from the hotel or whatever. I thought there was some cool shots there also from the window. And
Oh, right. Yeah.
yeah, there
When
was.
she was standing on the balcony, and
Yeah.
then when they first get there. Yeah, it's just that big yellow Byzantium sign. Just stands out and just photographs well.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our review of Byzantium. That's week, what's that, week 2 or week 3 of our spooky October movies?
Technically week 2.
Yeah, week 2. So, Steve, tell us what you got for us next week.
It is Dino's turn. So, Dino, what's next, brother?
Kronos.
Kronos.
It's Guillermo del Toro's very first feature-length movie. And also about a vampire, apparently. I haven't seen it, but I was researching different Spanish movies because, trying to, and we are called Oye Dímelo. So I figured I got to try and get some more Spanish films in here. So yeah, it's also included in the Criterion collection. So if that means anything to you, that means something to you. And yeah, I'm excited. Ron Perlman is in it. So it would be, for me, I like Ron Perlman and Guillermo del Toro. So it's I'm very interested in seeing what their first soiree, is it soiree or foray? Foray into films was that has created their long-lasting friendship.
So, you said this next film is about vampires?
Yeah, apparently. I'm not, it might be a weird type of vampire it might have its own rules also. So it might be vampire heavy film wise, but maybe we fit in a different one.
Vampiros.
Great. JP's happy.
Yeah.
Have you seen this movie before, JP?
Actually, no. So, but I like Guillermo del Toro, so let's see.
So nobody's seen it. Great.
Yeah,
I
it's a
want to
first
see
game
what
for
the hell
everybody.
Ron Perlman does in Spanish, because
Oh my God, what he speaks Spanish?
No, I don't think so. But I was like, it's a Spanish movie, but you have a couple, I think, American people in it, so it'll be interesting to see how that gets incorporated.
All right.
So yeah.
Okie dokie. And we'll catch you next week. The next movie is Kronos. See you later.
Bye, guys.
Ciao, ciao, ciao.
Hey, I'm Jason Echoes, and thank you for watching the Oye Dímelo Network. There's some videos here. Watch one of them, and then you can subscribe to the network, and you can see more good stuff.